Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anthony Galato. I'm currently the treasurer for the Democratic Business Council of Northern Virginia, as we're known as DemBiz. We've been hosting webinars with our congressional candidates in the 7th and 10th district. Our events are recorded and they'll be shared in a few days. We have with us today Krystle Kaul. Um, she's a former public servant. Krystle Kaul, thanks for joining us today. Um, I will I'll have some questions for you. First question is, can you tell us about yourself, your background, and what inspired you to pursue a career in politics?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. I'm really excited to be speaking to the Democratic Business Council, especially because I'm also a small business owner. So I definitely understand the everyday struggle, and I have been championing small businesses for the past several years. So tell you a little bit about myself, and excited to jump right in. I am the daughter of Indian immigrants. My grandfather came to this country with the American dream, and he gave a good life to my family. And I really want to give that back to folks here in VA10. I, you know, came down. I went to American University 20 some years back, was studying international relations, women in politics, and did my master's at Johns Hopkins in international relations. Then I worked on my PhD at Brown in political science. And I have spent most of my adult career in this Northern Virginia area, working with a number of big businesses. So I've, worked for Deloitte, for GDIT, Leidos, Booz Allen, and was a former director at the DoD. And I uh, resigned actually in protest of Trump. I found that he was putting women and minorities in a toxic environment and put our troops at risk. And so I think it's a twofold answer of an early impetus of wanting to run for office, starting as a teenager, working on Capitol Hill. I worked for Congressman Marty Meehan back when I was in school. And I think the recent Kickstart drive came when I saw an administration under Trump that was really spouting out MAGA extremism, and I thought, I need to take a stand. So I'm really proud to be standing today, especially in an area where I really understand the dynamics of the everyday struggles that go on here when it comes to government contracting, what small business owners need. For the past several years, I've run my own business. It's called Krystle Clear Communications, a little play on my name. And I help small businesses get a fair shot in government contracting. So women-owned, disabled veteran, any minority-owned businesses, really try to give them a leg up in the whole U.S. defense industrial base. And I think it's really important that we are mindful of equality for small businesses, because I think that really drives the economy here in VA10 and across Northern Virginia.
Okay, thank you for sharing the background with us. Actually interesting. Also, a fellow national defense person here. So, running for Congress is a significant undertaking. What drove you to run for the 10th congressional district in Virginia?
Yeah. So as I was alluding to, I think I've really lived a VA10 story from multiple aspects. One, I'm a national security Democrat. I worked with the CIA. I've worked with U.S. Central Command. I led the ISIS crisis counterterrorism cell under Secretary Austin, our current Secretary of Defense. I've worked with Air Force. I've worked at the Pentagon. So my career, similar to Abigail Spanberger, has been in national security and defense, which I think is something very relatable. People really understand and can connect with here. And I've worked with a lot of the defense contractors, as I've named, as well. So both as a former GS-15, I was a senior defense official, as a defense contractor, and as I've said, in most recent years, as a small business owner. And I think those are the three, you could say, most common professions here in VA10. And I think it's important to understand the daily struggles, what people go through, to be able to see it through the lens of your constituents. And that is something I think, one, very unique to VA10. That's not a story that's necessarily common to every district across every state around the country. And I think that We have about 9 national security Democrats in Congress, those who have come from a national security defense background. I do not believe there is one set track to Congress. I think that Congress is versatile with having former teachers, lawyers, businessmen and women, uh, doctors, right, who come in, and as we've seen, we have several who also come in from this track. So my service has been in protecting America, keeping the homeland safe, making sure that we uphold national security, and I think I also definitely understand the struggle of instability of government contracting. For small business owners, that's what puts food on the table and a roof over your head. And I really want to bring more equality into that, the whole RFP process, the whole ability to get, to subcontract, for example. I think there's a lot of, it's a bit of a black hole, and I like to demystify that process for people. And I'd like to do it at a grander scale in Congress, to be very honest, with passing legislation.
So thank you for sharing that, especially with the number of 9 national security representatives. I didn't know that, and especially your focus in small business because that's what makes Virginia very great and attracts small business. I mean, small businesses is that we are business friendly. So regarding business, economic prosperity is a foreign priority in any district. What specific economic goals do you have in intent, and what are your strategies do you propose to achieve them?
Yeah. So as I was alluding to, I think so. We have several set asides that exist currently: 8A, Hub Zone, women-owned small business, right, and the list goes on. And I think that's all very nice to have set asides that are intended to actually be set aside for minority businesses. And then what ends up happening is that you have almost half of 8A designated companies that are not profitable. They're not actually making any revenue. And so the question is why? Why is that the case? So I always like to peel back that onion layer a bit and to see what's broken in the system. And I think that we need to actually pass legislation to really help and give a leg up to minority businesses. So I think not just a nominal set aside, but actual mentor protege programs that we can have with big and small businesses. Actually, having training programs with small businesses on here's how you go about getting an RFP. Here's how you go and get certain forge certain relationships. Here are designated, coffee hours that agencies have, and particular like tech hub units that are created, like the Defense Innovation Unit, for example, or AFWorks or SoftWorks, et cetera. But I just think that it's a bit of a black hole. As I said again, what really drives the economy here in VA10, it is absolutely, it's the U.S. Defense Industrial Base, and a lot of it really is a contracting. And it's a lot of small business owners that are going and trying, with great tech solutions that I've seen. I was a former senior advisor of the Artificial Intelligence Machine Learning Center at the Pentagon, the JAKE. Now it's called CDAO. I've also was advisor for Cloud Computing Program Office. So I've seen a lot of these great cybersecurity solutions come in, low cost, but again, without really understanding who to talk to, or when an RFP is going to drop, and really what's needed, or something as simple as messaging, which I think is key. How to put something in warfighter language that's going to attract the DoD or a government civilian agency is important, because you need to go translate from commercial solution to now a government solution. And that process is not necessarily super intuitive. And it's one where I think we need more workshops and training to do. So I think I'd like to pass legislation to really help and give aid to small businesses and make it a lot more equitable, and to teach people about OTAs and consortia and all of the things that exist and that are also available. Because if you have programs available, but you're not marketing them well, then, and there's not much awareness about them, it's not really that helpful.
Okay, thank you for sharing with that. At one time, I did have a service disabled veteran business, and I will tell you, it is hard to break in that sector. So if I was
Very
in
hard.
intent, you would have my vote. So this is my last question before ask audience. Please, if you have any questions, feel free to share that. I'm looking at the chat now. My last question to you is: small businesses are the backbone of many communities. What initiative do you propose to support small business and encourage entrepreneurship in a tent?
Yeah. So going back again, I think I'd want to kind of revolutionize the process, so to speak. The whole 8A program that was created by a former president years back was intended with the concept that too much of our government contracts are going to just one homogenous group. And the whole idea was to open it up to those who are minority businesses. And 8A, for those who may or may not know, is anyone who can prove discrimination. But I think I want to take it another level further. I think that we have a district here, VA10, that's 44% minority, one, and two, a large number of minority businesses. And when I say minority, I'm talking, Indian American, Arab American, African American, right? Korean American, Thai American, across the board. And we need, to really, I think, create something beyond a set aside that is actually bringing those minority businesses into the fold even further. So having something that I'd say, call it like 8A 2.0, where you would be eligible for a whole set of government contracts, and one where you wouldn't have to actually prove discrimination necessarily, because the process is lengthy. It can take 6 to 18 months from what I've seen. Maybe you haven't been discriminated against necessarily, but that shouldn't bar you from being eligible to, to obtain a contract. So I do think that we're at a point where we need to do more than just the 5,000 some, lucky 8A companies that make it in, but, we have tens of thousands of companies that deserve a fair shot. There's plenty to go around, especially with like the CHIPS Act fund. I, used to consult with Intel, work on CHIPS Act task force. And it's across the board. It's in CHIPS funding, it's in defense, it's agriculture, it's education. I mean, there's so many spaces where we can really bring in great solutions. And I think that there should be more fairness and equality in how it's gone about.
Okay, thank you for sharing with that. And my last thing here is that I just hope everybody knows that
Has
early
started.
voting, yep, it started, and election day, the primary will be June 18th, which is coming up. So finally, as voters consider their choices, what would you like them to know about you?
I think I'd like them to know a couple things. One, I'm not a career politician. I am someone, as I said again, I'll reiterate, former defense director, former defense contractor, right? I'm the girl that, would work at Deloitte. I was embedded at different agencies. I worked for Leidos. I shop at your Trader Joe's. I actually do live, I'm the only woman who lives in Loudoun who's running. I live in one Loudoun, so I am local here. I just want to highlight that. And I get the struggle. I know how unstable contracting can be, right? A contract's up and you don't necessarily know what what the rest of your tenure will be at a particular company. You don't know how many proposals they might have for you. I'm someone who really gets it. I don't have to be explained a lot of these processes and these issue areas. My three core issues are: one, fighting MAGA extremism. I think we need more representation, more women to come in, more minorities to come into Congress. So I'm really proud to be a woman of color from Loudoun here running for this seat. I do think that this is a female-friendly district. It's been held by a woman for 14 years, and we should keep it a female seat. Reproductive health freedom is under attack, our right to choose. I have worked with UN Women. I've helped disenfranchised women around the world. I'm someone who is a staunch women's rights advocate. And finally, gun safety. I have lived in conflict zones around the world. I'm the only candidate in the country that's done doctoral field work in Palestine. I did doctoral field work in Pakistan, and I've lived in Lebanon, so I bore witness to 4 people getting shot down as I sought cover. And I really understand fundamentally the need for safe neighborhoods and safe communities, because I think being a national security Democrat starts at the core of it is public safety. So those are my core issues. I'm a straight shooter. I'm very authentic. I am not someone who has canned responses that I've been prepping for years. I like to be very direct, and I like to get things done. And I think anyone that is listening that comes from industry knows that that's very true of any of us who have come from that background, is that we are solutions oriented. We like to, think through hard problem sets, and I'd say finally, public-private partnership. I've seen that be really effective. I've worked really hard in forging that in smart cities and IoT, AIML, right? We need someone who can forge public-private partnership, have the emerging trends technology experience, and really be able to understand the intersection of defense and technology. I think at the very core, that's really critical to VA10, especially when you're looking at things like data centers. This is Data Center Alley here in Loudoun. It affects a lot of the counties in the area: Rappahannock, Fauquier, Manassas, part of Warrenton, Fairfax, and again, I think small business owners need a voice in Congress. I think it's high time that we have one of our own that can represent us.
Yes, and as a political junkie, thank you for letting us know you live in the 10th. I know it's kind of been a hot topic with
I
domestic
do
violence
actually
in the
live
10th.
here.
Yes, I know it's been a hot topic. I live in the 7th and in Stafford, and there's a data center being built not too far from me. So yeah, thank you guys in the 10th for letting it come down to the 7th now. I'm joking. So currently there aren't any questions, and we do have 11 minutes left. And I can see as if you run for Congress, you get things done within a timely manner. But since there aren't any questions, respect your time too, ma'am. On behalf of DemBiz, thank you, Krystle, for taking the time in a busy day and campaign to join us to get to know who you are more. And we'll send you the coordinating link. And we wish you much luck on your campaign, ma'am.
Thank you. I just want to highlight too, you can find me at Kaul for Congress. It's KAUL for Congress.com. So you can read about me. Feel free to reach out. I'm really responsive, email and text. And I look forward to hearing from you and hope I can count on all your support. And thank you, Anthony, for giving me the opportunity to speak today.